I can see the clock. for Jesse and Melva live. We're so glad that you're here with us, and we can't wait to get started with what we want to share with you this time. We're doing a 3-part series based on a question that one of the couples in our community asked about how to address issues that are coming up during the quarantine restriction period. And that question applies not just to the quarantine time, where whatever issues couples were having after spending so much time together became magnified. It also applies to day-to-day life, because just because it got magnified during the quarantine, it did not mean that going back to work and the restrictions being lifted, that the issues were not going to go away. So that's what we're doing. And this is our second of 3. We like to do like a series so we can give like different aspects of the big picture, And also, people are in different situations, so we like to give examples of different situations. So we're going to give a second example during our time together this time. And Jesse's going to take you through a guided imagery. And if we have time, we're going to answer an additional question. However, the question that we're answering is part of that question that the couple asked us a couple of weeks ago. And then we're going to provide a link for a complimentary consultation with the 2 of us to support 5 couples. For now, we're doing 5 couples a week because we want to support couples to have a jumpstart to take an action step to support what we're talking about and what we're sharing on during our time together. And you will notice that we tell stories about people that we know about, and we don't give real names of people that we know. We do more of a composite. It's like we did in our book. We had a composite. Well, actually, they were not a composite. They were actual couples. I mean, even us. I mean, there's a chapter. No, we didn't use their names. And they got to pick the names that we use, but they were real life people. So over the years, we have met, we have met with many couples in many different situations. So we know that one, what do they call it? One something doesn't fit all. One, what is it?
One hat doesn't fit all.
Yes, thank you. So that's why we give examples. Okay, so ready to get started?
I am.
Okay. All right. So last time we focused on a couple by the name of, we called them Aaron and Annie. And we talked about how we introduced the 3 fundamentals for success in overcoming challenges in relationships. So this couple argued again and again and again. And I do want to say that there are many, many, many fundamentals for success in love, marriage, and life. So we're just focusing on 3 during our live cast because there's so many different ways to apply the 3. So the idea is that there are principles for success. And in other programs that we provide, we will be teaching even more. But we want people to have the idea. We want people to know that success is possible and what it could look like and feel like in the examples that we share. So the second couple that we're going to focus on today, we're calling them Brenda and Baxter. And of course, we made up their names, but the dynamics of their relationship, those dynamics fit what we have witnessed over the years. So some couples argue all the time. Some couples do not argue. And, a lot of times, couples will say, well, we have a good relationship, but we never argue. And then a red flag goes off, or maybe a yellow flag, but a flag goes off and says, so I wonder what they're sitting on. Well, Baxter and Brenda began to sit on something that happened in the early years of their marriage. Married 10 years, they have a beautiful baby daughter that we'll call baby Bridget. So when Baxter and Brenda came together, they were so happy because both of them are low-key, easygoing, peaceful kind of people, meditators, that kind of thing, right? So as long as everything was peaceful, they were okay. But if there was a problem, and the specific problem that they had that led to the story we're going to tell about them, when they had a problem, since they were what we call in our field conflict avoidant, they never talked about it. They just sat on it. So here's what happened with them. So Brenda got pregnant a year or two after they got married. So in the early stages of her pregnancy, she had morning sickness. And she suffered for a while with morning sickness. Now, Baxter loved her and he wanted to help her. But the problem was she didn't know how to articulate what it is that she needed. She wanted him to figure it out. And since he didn't know what to do, because he didn't have any information from her, he did nothing. He was paralyzed. He was paralyzed with fear. It's like, how do I help her? I don't know what to do. So what he did do was distract himself with the TV and video games. Now, what do you think happened in terms of how that impacted Brenda?
I imagine she felt ignored and and that he wasn't paying attention to her in terms of what her needs were.
Yeah. In other words, she was pissed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and since he didn't know what to do and she was struggling, then her upset began to simmer and simmer and simmer. And so did his. Because he knew that she was pulling away from him. He didn't know why, and he didn't know what to do with it. So here's what happened. Oh, the baby was born, and they were both happy about the arrival of the baby, but they were also in distress in terms of the disconnection that they felt with each other. So, you know what happened after that? One day, Baxter just got up and left. He just left. He left Brenda, he left the baby, she was on her own. So she was already upset, she was already feeling alone, she was already feeling disconnected, and she didn't know what to do. So she struggled with that. And then in a couple of weeks, he called and apologized, and he said, I was wrong, and I really want to work this out. So we want to tell you, they're like a couple who would come in to see us for counseling, or maybe a couple that would come to one of our workshops. So we want to share with you what it is that they discovered during the process. So the first thing that they discovered, we say the three fundamentals are safety, understanding, and compassion. So the first thing that they discovered was that they didn't have emotional safety to have the conversation because of their own fears that they may not say what it is that they need to say in the correct way. And they never really learned how to talk about sensitive issues. They survived by keeping things underground because they wanted the peace. And so they walked on eggshells with each other. That's no way to create safety in a relationship. So they discovered that that was one of the problems. The second thing that they discovered is that, Jesse and I often say that when things are going on with a couple, many times one or both don't know what they don't know about what's going on because there's so much going on beneath the surface. So they did not understand each other's experiences. That, and a lot of times people will think, well, if this is my experience, then it's got to be the other person's experience. Well, what we have found, even in our relationship, that is not accurate. We call it symbiosis. The phrase is, you and I are one, and I'm the one. And what that means is there's only one way of seeing a situation. There's only one way of thinking about it. There's only one way of taking action, and that's my way. That will get people in trouble. So they discovered how they were doing that and how to turn that around. And then the third thing that they discovered was how to have compassion. So not, many times people judge themselves about having negative feelings. And so they don't express them because they're negative. Anger comes out in a pretty painful way sometimes. However, if people don't understand what's beneath the anger and address that, then they stay stuck. So first, they understood the the surface feeling of anger and resentment, and then they went below the surface and they found out about the other feelings, and they were able to share those with each other and hear each other with empathy and compassion. So that's what well, they discovered a whole lot of other things, but those are three basic things that we want to share with you this time. So guess what happened? So they had all this information because, like we've said before, many of us, we've been to workshops, we've been to counseling, we've been to all different personal growth situations, and we get a lot of information. But we don't know what to do with it, even when people tell us how, because our brains are wired to do whatever we've been doing. And it's a threat on the inside to make any changes. But however, they were presented with four choices, and we have mentioned these four choices before. And so, what were those four choices, Jesse?
Oh, um, to continue to be avoidant and feel good about it. To continue to be avoidant and feel frustrated about it. To become expressive to each other and feel bad about it. Or to become expressive to each other and to feel good about it.
Yeah. And to be expressive to each other in a way that they feel good about it, meaning to express themselves um, as a source of safety, a source of understanding, and a source of compassion. So they had four choices. Well, thank goodness they chose choice number four, or door number four, or path number four. They decided that they wanted to change. Um, and they didn't know because they didn't know how to
Right.
express themselves in a way that they could be clear, and also in a way that they could manage the anxiety that was beneath the surface, because it's kind of scary to talk about sensitive issues, because the fears, am I going to be judged, am I going to see it the right way, and both of them already had core issues of not feeling good enough in so many different areas, even though they were successful in so many other areas of their life. So, so the three ways that they discovered, so they realized that there was a lot of damage in the relationship from holding on to those feelings. And so, what is the first thing that they discovered?
Well, they discovered how to create a safe space within to become vulnerable with each other and share their experiences more effectively. We talked about safety as being one of the first things when we were trying to resolve problems and conflicts, that you both have to feel safe.
Yeah. And when Jesse talks about a safe structure, there is, we, we describe it as there's a gap between where the couple is, or where a person is, and where they want to be. So in their safe space, they were able to clarify a vision that was going to help them to focus
Right.
on the kind of ways that they wanted to show up, because we
Mm-hmm.
talk about beatitudes, which means mindset, and how people want to show up to be successful in their lives. So they had that focus, and and then they work together to have action steps that they could, small steps that they could take on the journey to manifesting their vision. So they created safety. And the whole part about the gap, I was listening to Michael Beckwith, and I really like his description of the gap. He says that the gap from where you are to where you want to be is God's area of preparation. So what we do in that safe, structured place is to support people to bridge the gap, with safety, understanding, compassion. Okay, second thing they did was, or that they discovered to repair the damage, and I probably already said it, was to make sense. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
they discovered how to make sense of each other's experience and each other's vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and like last time when we talked about Aaron and Annie, we call that step validation. And you'll probably hear us say it over and over again because it's such an important step that two people, instead of you and I are one and I'm the one, it's really we are one. And so, but it takes both people having the skills and the willingness to bridge the gap, to cross the bridge from their experience with curiosity and go to the other person's country of their experience and make sense of it. We're not talking about agreement. We're talking about understanding. And then not only understanding it, but telling the other person who is speaking what makes sense to them about their experience. I mean, that is probably one of the most powerful tools that we have taught in over our 4 decades of doing this work. And also trying to live these principles too. Um, I was thinking the other day, actually, I was thinking this morning when I was thinking about us having this experience today. And I was thinking about, so we do beatitudes and what have you. And, so if I did a measurement scale in terms of where I am and where I want to be, I'm most certainly not at a 10. I am a work in progress. We are a work in progress. And it doesn't matter whether I'm a 10, it matters that I'm continue to do the work to keep progressing forward, because growth is, I mean, I can't remember who I heard this from. If you don't grow, you die. If you stop growing, you die. Well, I ain't ready to die. So I keep keep doing the work, and it's almost like the universe keeps sending opportunities to stretch me to grow a little more. And I remember one time Oprah was saying in terms of like growth opportunities. Did I say that last time? But anyway, she said that she had so many growth opportunities day after day after day. She said to God, can I have a vacation today? So validation, understanding, that's really, really, really important. Understanding what's going on within, and then also understanding what's going on within the other person. Third thing they discovered.
They became more compassionate with each other.
Yeah, yeah. They began to imagine what the other person was experiencing. It's like walking in the other person's shoes and having a felt experience of, wow, what that must have been like. So from validation, it's like, I understand what you're going through. And then from a place of compassion and empathy, wow, I also imagine that you're feeling sadness. I also imagine you're feeling disappointment. And are those any of those feelings accurate? And the other person can say either yes or no. And it doesn't matter whether it's yes or no. The most important thing is the appreciation for trying, and then inviting the person to share any other additional feelings. So these are 3 important things that they discovered. So they were equipped to do the work in the gap to move forward. So we have a question. Do you and your mate have difficulties at times talking about sensitive issues? Do you have a difficult time being vulnerable with each other because you may be judging yourself, you may be judging each other? If that is so, then we would like to, Jesse is going to take you through a guided imagery to just get in touch with that so that you can have a sense of what it could feel like to have a different experience, what it could feel like.
So let's set the tone for you to take this action step on your own to prepare for having a difficult conversation. What we know, according to science, is that between the stimulus and a response or reaction, there is a space for reflection and making choices that promote growth. We would like to take you to that space of reflection right now. So take a moment and close your eyes. And now take a couple of deep breaths. In through your nose and out through your mouth. So let's do it again. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay, one more time. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Now let's take a moment to tune into this area of preparing yourself to have a difficult conversation. Be aware of what you are experiencing within regarding the idea of preparing yourself for a difficult conversation. So what are you feeling? What are you thinking? Whatever that is, breathe into that. Now think about this conversation you would like to have. Think about your positive intention for inviting that conversation. A positive intention is a positive reason for wanting that conversation. Think about that for a moment and then complete this sentence. My positive intent for inviting this conversation is so that we can experience, you fill in the blank. Like, for example, more time, more understanding, more connection. What is your positive intention? I'll breathe into that. Now imagine having that conversation, experiencing the results you just described, and then breathe into that. Now affirm to yourself, I want that outcome. Breathe. I deserve that outcome. Breathe. We deserve that outcome. And breathe. Keep that image in your mind and take 3 deep breaths. And when you are ready, open your eyes.
We'd be curious about what that experience was like, because we really try to support people to be in touch with the possibilities within. Because we know that, we talk about uncovering and discovering the hidden treasures within. Success starts from the inside out.
Right.
It's a mindset that supports a skill set that is in alignment with a bigger vision based on a big why. And couples are together for a purpose. There's a reason why couples are attracted to each other. there is some wonderful work to be done. I have heard people say, if marriage is not supposed to be work. Well, I disagree with that. Marriage provides the opportunity
Right.
to do the personal work to become one's best self. And it does take work. First, it takes awareness, and then it takes a vision, and then it takes action steps in alignment with that vision, and then it takes support. The success that we've had in our lives and with each other is based on being supported by a lot of people.
Yeah.
We learned from a lot of people. Matter of fact, I remember when I was working in the school system, we were doing a community relations thing. One of the assistant principals knew about all these classes and trainings I was doing. And he said, no, but you ought to be in PhD school. I said, but I can't do the work the way that I want to do it. So I'm taking the classes and the trainings that's going to support me to be who I need to be in life and to be that conduit that I want to be. And I don't want any distractions from any other things that's going to take energy away from that. So, but people do it different ways. You know, that's just the way that I did it. And you did it that way too.
Right.
So we're just supporting people to tap into all the possibilities that reside within. I mean, the name of our book is called Mining for the Goal. Now, we said mining for the goal in your marriage, mining for the goal in your relationship. I think our next book is going to be called Mining for the Goal Within, because there are hidden treasures there. So anyway, so we hope that we gave you a taste of what is possible in terms of a first step. I mean, there's a lot of steps: awareness first, and then doing, getting support to take the action steps. And that's something that we're going to be talking more about in terms of the course that we're developing and the coaching. But for now, we just want to give people a taste of what's possible. So, Mr. J,
Yes.
what have we covered today?
Well, today we've covered the importance really of rather than to
We did answer the request for the couple.
oh yeah, provided a link for a complimentary consultation for a jumpstart of implementing one action step related to this live cast.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing that in just a minute. And we did give an example of a challenging situation,
Right.
Baxter and Brenda. And a lot of people, I think, can relate to Baxter and Brenda. And so now what we'd like to do is to provide the link for you, and we will be interviewing 5 couples for the next few weeks for a free complimentary consultation at jesseandmelva.com. And then there's a tab for the contact. All you have to do is put in your name and your email address and let us know that you want to set up a time, and we'll get right back to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
It has been our joy to support you in providing tips for success in love, marriage, and life. Until next time, take care.
All right.